defense should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Boom to the hay, all you sports fans out there. Welcome to the OMSR with your brief but very concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Throw. Limited set space. Unless when you're 6'4", 275, it's kind of tricky. Alright, so you know what's coming up. Don't worry, this ain't no 5-minute spiel. Bama, Georgia, CFP in general. Jalen Hurts, smooth, cool customer. Yeah, by the way, got my 1991 made for the national championship. Only a couple hundred of them made in America. In the USA level, to boot. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the esteemed announcers there at CBS who called the game. But I'm going to start off with a snapshot of the perfect vignette of why acclimatization in America is just so freaking awesome vis-a-vis the collegiate system of the USA. Nothing like it on God's green earth. Then we'll go to ESPN. A little disappointed they didn't have, plenty of Texas conversation. No segue about GHW. Disappointed on that. Gentlemen on CBS went out of their way to mention their experiences. Alright, and then the guys who got the first stab at it, Joey, Ohio State, and Jesse can't ever seem to get the SEC out of the man. Even though you can take the man away from SEC football, you'll be very surprised at what his final results are here. We can't have two teams from the same conference in the CFP. Period. Alright, so let the conversation begin. I'm just going to say, a 2-loss Georgia, they had their chance. They were looking really good. After that, there's this funny little bit ESPN put together about the coaching tree vis-a-vis Coach Saban and how his assistants are. It's a stunning record when you think about it. And I was looking like, maybe that one little apple. It's all anthropomorphized, cool sort of like pseudo-claymation animation coming up. And then we will close with actually that funny bit ESPN did. Is how we're going to close out. So, Coach Saban, 2A, and I, thank you for watching. Oh, this dude out here? Yeah, Polynesian spirit deity, guardian of the home, 2A. A. Double vowel pronunciation there. Probably the only one like it in America. Very cool, 100 years old, originally from 1960s Samoa. Alright, thanks for watching. Reminding you, Bama Nation, while you're out there celebrating, no silly DUIs. Roll.
On the run. Now, we've known Quinton Williams all year has been the MVP of this defense. Disruptive. Georgia only had 12 rushing yards in the fourth quarter when they were trying to ice the game. And I'll go back to the coverage in the back end again. Shaheem Carter here, one-on-one with Mecole Hardman, maybe the fastest player on the field on a corner route, just stays in his hip pocket. Crucial 3rd and 11. Jake Fromm threw 8 incompletions in the fourth quarter. That was more than he threw the entire game combined. And finally, with the game on the line, when they got Georgia into obvious pass rush situations, Anthony Jennings able to get home and get more pressure again. But let's be very clear. This isn't even close to Nick Saban's best defense that he's had. They've got some issues. He's had better defenses in the past, but when it mattered most, after making the quarterback change and going to Jalen Hurts, this defense got 6 straight stops to end the game. The defense gave them an opportunity to win and enter the playoff, the 1 seed.
Yeah, this is the Georgia football team. In their last 4 games, they rushed the ball for over 330 yards. And we knew coming, they had to run it to beat Alabama, but who can do that? Alabama held them to 150. They ran it early, just like they did in the national championship game, but Nick Saban finds a way to make adjustments on the defensive side. Their defense answers the bell every single time. And
now it's time to see the voice that should be in the Capital One fan vote with the college football playoff. Jesse, take it away.
All right, Ed, we've been doing this now, what, 14 weeks?
Seems like 18 weeks.
Put these teams up on this board. We're finally here. Some great games today in conference championships. The committee's going to have a very, very interesting decision.
Hey, Jesse, you got to get these slacks flared out, bro.
Let's start from the top.
Looking too much like
I think it's pretty easy.
Not a good look.
Number 1 all season
Just
long.
saying.
Although we did see them do something in this game.
Jutsu.
They were
So
behind
style,
after the first quarter.
Best look on
them,
man.
Come back, give Jalen Hurts a lot of credit, stuck around, made big plays.
Yeah, I got Alabama number 1 as well. well. And the injury to Tua Tagovailoa will be interesting. If that's an injury that's a little bit more long-term, potentially keeps them out of the playoff. Now all of a sudden, this is Jalen Hurts' team again. He's already quarterbacked them to 2 national championship games. If he has to go, can he finally take that next step and lead them to a national championship?
Clemson solidly at number 2. This is the moment Clemson has been waiting for. This is why they put Trevor Lawrence in as their starting quarterback. He's a better passer. The feeling that passing the football is a way to win a national championship. Got there last year, couldn't pull it off. Now they go to Trevor Lawrence as their quarterback. Can they do it? Can't wait to see what happens to this Clemson team in the playoffs.
They've got the talent to beat Alabama, but it's always defense, defense, defense when it comes to them, and they're going to need that defense regardless of who they have to play in the playoffs.
Ian Book steps in for Notre Dame. Their offense has been completely different since he's their man. Didn't have to win a conference championship game. A lot of people upset about that, but they get their shot at Clemson to prove they belong.
Yeah, you go undefeated week in, week out. After you make that switch, Book provides a spark to the offense. They get Dexter Williams back earlier this year, and after that, they were just rolling through. So Notre Dame going to be a very, very tough out for whoever they got to face. Here is the million-dollar question.
Let the fun begin.
Let's go.
I'm going Kyler Murray. I'm going Oklahoma. Georgia just had their shot, couldn't pull it off. This offense with Kyler Murray against the Alabama defense is going to be a lot of fun. Now, we don't expect their defense to be able to slow down, whether it's Tua or Jalen Hurts or Alabama. It's going to be a lot of points scored. Can Oklahoma put up enough points to knock off Alabama?
I've got Georgia at number 4. I realized they'd be the first 2-loss team in. They didn't win a conference championship, but to me, Joey, it's just about who are the 4 best teams.
That's it.
Against Bama, they proved they could match
Take
up.
the man away from SEC football. You can't take the SEC out of the man, partiality-wise.
Oklahoma or Ohio State. I know a lot of people out there aren't going to want to see a rematch right away with Alabama, but it's not about avoiding the rematch. It's about putting the 4 best teams in, and I agree with what Kirby Smart said. I think they deserve it.
Yeah, and I agree with what you said about this Georgia football team, and I think when you talk Oklahoma, Georgia, Ohio State, it's razor thin. Georgia just had their shot at Alabama, but I believe that this team, I don't have a problem. And that's not normal, but they put Georgia in, I don't have a problem. I do believe that they're that good.
I've got Oklahoma, historic offense. The defense still scares me. And bottom line, too, Joe, I just think if these 2 teams played, I think Georgia would win. I do.
Kyler Murray doesn't believe that.
We'll wait and find out. It definitely doesn't. I'm sure that no one really in Norman's going to either. But, Dan, I don't know. This is what we think. We'll find out what the committee thinks very soon.
All right, fellas, you got it. Notable conference champs: Washington, Oklahoma, UCF, Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State.
From the SEC Championship, where we saw an epic matchup between Georgia and Alabama, a rematch of last year's national championship game, ends up not disappointing at all, and a lot of it, Jordan Rodgers, Marcus Spears, Tim Tebow, had to do with Jalen Hurts and what he did. You can't script it any better than what happened, Tim.
I mean, it's like someone from Hollywood was sitting there trying to write it down. It was like, can I even sell this? It's not even really believable. I mean, it's incredible for it to be at the same place where the national championship was, against the same team, and for it to be in the 4th quarter, and for them to be behind and lead his team not just to tie, but to come from behind touchdown and do it with his arms and his legs, that style. I mean, it truly is. I mean, one day someone's making a movie of it.
To do it with his arm. For me, to do it with his arm. Look, the reason Jalen Hurts got benched is because he couldn't push the ball downfield. It had nothing to do with him not having the ability to give Bama wins. That was never the question. These type of games are the ones that Jalen Hurts struggled in when we saw him play, and that's the reason Tua replaced him last year in the national championship. It's just crazy that it went vice versa, and he did it with his arm.
So all of this really makes us think about Georgia, too. And look, I get it. We're sitting here on the SEC Now set. We're on the SEC Network, but we're talking about the 4 best teams, and we can be unbiased. What do you think the committee does when you talk about where Georgia may fit and how they would fit at that 4th spot?
I mean, unfortunately, I think it's going to be tough for them to say that they can justify that, seeing Oklahoma erase really their only loss this year. But I'm going to say it. We saw the 2 best teams in college football, I think, tonight. And I do believe that you should have to play, after being here on the sidelines for this conference championship game, if you don't play in one of these games, I don't know if we know if you are one of the best 4. There's nothing like a conference championship game like this. If you sat on the couch, I don't think you're one of the best 4.
Yeah. Well, Georgia's one of the best 4 teams.
Yes.
I think Georgia's one of the best 4 as well. So if they don't get in, you're going to penalize an 11-1 team that you're going to penalize them for going head-to-head against the best team in the country and barely losing, outplaying them. It's tough for them not to get in my opinion.
The committee is going to say, to justify, they lost 36-16 to LSU.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to justify it, because there is no way you can justify them not being one of the 4 best teams in the country.
Right, and the committee looks at losses, but they are supposed to weigh wins more. So we'll see what they end up doing. Lots of drama in that committee room.
It's a little thing called lost to LSU, had to go into 7 OTs with Tamu.
All right, great stuff, guys.
We had last year, but Georgia Tech, you can make an argument, it's one of the better jobs out there as we sit right now.
You know, Georgia Tech would choose to go after one of the Clemson coordinators. It might be taking a page from the Georgia SEC playbook. You go and you get the king of the conference, a member of his staff, and they could go after a member of Clemson's staff. And, you know, that's what Georgia's done with Kirby Smart, and very successfully. But most Nick Saban assistants have had success, but not necessarily against the master himself. Saban is undefeated when he goes to that orchard of former assistant coaches. Look at all the guys.
Run the apples back.
But we have a little twist on that.
I was looking it up earlier.
0-3.
Oh, this is classic.
McElwain, 2 different places.
Muschamp.
D'Antonio looked angry, but he got blown out a couple of times. 87-7.
Yeah, he would look angry too.
That was Jimbo, right?
It took an extra shake to get Jeremy out of that. And then I love Jeremy Pruitt. His noggin looks like an apple. But now look at Kirby. No. Kirby's not. He's not standing there. Why didn't walk? I don't know.
Kirby's not done. Look at the big man looking down.
Amazing animation.
It's not personal. I'm going to have to play and compete against each other, but it's really not personal.